We did the first game for the first series, of course we're going to do the second game for the second series. Hello there, welcome back to the channel. I am Grand Moff Tony. Now you can probably tell I am really suffering this week. I'm coming off the back of a throat thing, and I sound like General Grievous if General Grievous had a really bad throat thing. But we're just gonna soldier on, because the last time we missed a video, the algorithm was really mean to us. Part of talking about all the different corners of Star Wars canon and making a wish list for each of them involved talking about Star Wars games, and in the last series we talked about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Well, this time I want to talk about the sequel, Jedi Survivor, the game that made me go out and buy a next-gen console, even though I had no interest in ever owning one, because the last generation of consoles never really even felt like I got my money's worth out of it. But to be honest, if the only thing I get out of this generation of gaming is Jedi Survivor, I will be very happy, because the game was incredible. I loved it. I loved the different directions that the story went in. I had a really good time playing that game. And if you watched my best of videos from the end of last year, you'll know that the Jedi Survivor Cal Kestis was my favourite figure that came out last year, and it even muscled its way into my top 10 best of all time. Well, with that said, where are the rest of the Jedi Survivor figures? Why is that the only one we've got? Now, we have a 3-pack of droid repack army builders coming out for, like, the reprogrammed droids belonging to the Raiders that show up in the game. That's coming back. I think it's got a Magna Guard, a B2, and a B1 in the same pack. That's all fine and dandy, but where are the characters? You know, where are the other characters? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to try and get through it as quick as I can before my throat just kills me. We're going to sit here and I'm going to give you my top 5 picks for characters from Star Wars Jedi Survivor that I would like to see come to the Black Series. Now, we're going to be following the same rules as we always do on these videos. No HasLabs, no vehicles. We're just talking about standard release figures, deluxe figures. That's all we want. So with all that said, let's get into some honorable mentions. Coming in first is Seer Junda. Now, I wanted to put her on my list, but she made the list in the Jedi Fallen Order wishlist, and I wanted to include a more broad selection of characters this time. So I'm putting her in as an honorable mention because I do absolutely dig the changes in her costume. She looks so cool, and I would love to get this version of her on my shelf. The updates on her head design, the more sort of tribal Jedi outfit that she's wearing, I really love it. I think it would be a brilliant look for a figure. I also have a number of Darth Vader figures in my collection, so I'm sure I could spare one to go up against Seer. Seer is an obvious pick for an honorable mention here. And kind of in keeping with the picks from last time, my second honorable mention would be Grease Dritus. Now, obviously, he's had some updates to his appearance as well. He's got a much more full beard going on. He's got that cybernetic arm from the Jedi Battle Scars book. But again, there are so many great new characters in this game that I really wanted to highlight. I just felt like I wanted to put these guys on the honorable mentions. And yeah, I talked a lot about in the previous video how good of a figure this would be based on, like, the Rio Durant figure from Solo coming out so well. You know, they've shown that they can do characters with multiple sets of arms very well, and I think Grease would be no exception to that whatsoever. Honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into the list itself. Coming in at number 5 is Cage Vander. Now, this is one of those alien characters that shows up that I had a really good time with. The whole Jedi Survivor game has got kind of like a frontiersman Wild West kind of feel to it, and Cage really encapsulates that. You know, she's this Nautolan Western sheriff-like character, and I really love it. But you can tell from the outset, she's not a lawmaker, she's seriously dodgy, and if you play her missions through, you get a very satisfying end to her story. I really liked her character design. I feel like it would apply itself so well to the Black Series. If we were to take, like, the Jaina Solo or Dr. Aphra body and use that as a base, I feel like you could really build up a great Cage figure. You could even get limited reuse out of that old Kit Fisto body, because they are both Nautilans, they've both got those tentacles. I'm sure they could find a way to incorporate it. This would be, I feel, a very simple figure, and it would pay off really well, because the Black Series does such a good job with alien head sculpts. She has such a unique look. It would translate so well into the Black Series. Plus, I'm reminded of how good that Book of Boba Fett Cobb Vanth came out, and how his articulation really kind of screams Western gunslinger. Cage Cage could be that all over again, except we get a female version of it, which could be even better, because the female body has come such a long way since the days of the Rey scavenger figure. We could get some really, really good articulation out of this. Hey, just stick some guns in the box with her and I'll be happy. Or if you really want to go the extra mile, how about a bounty puck with a little holographic target on it, since that was the nature of those missions? And yeah, I think it could come out really, really well. Cage Vander is an easy pick for number 5.
But most of all, I can't stand all this damn peace and quiet.
At number 4, we have Bode Akuna. Has it been long enough that we can sit here and talk about this guy without me getting mad about it? Let's find out. Bode was such an intriguing character. I really, really enjoyed his story arc across the game. But of course, with the way his story went, I'm still very angry at him. I still think he's a jerk. But that doesn't mean that I don't want a Black Series figure of him. I got plenty of Black Series figures of people that I think are jerks in Star Wars. I would buy this one as well. I'm trying to be really, considerate with my picks this time around. Figures that I think you could make using figures that are in the line. I feel like you could get a lot of reuse out of the original Grief Karga, because we're just looking for sort of again, a gunslinger kind of character, but more sort of stocky and well built. He's got to have that Bode dad bod. Stick on a few add-ons and overlays, maybe using some of the Season 1 Migs Mayfeld holsters to give him some extra blasters, because he always seems like he was pulling blasters out of nowhere in the game, which was kind of cool. And I feel like he'd make a really, really good figure. And this is one of those situations similar to Star Wars Resistance, where I'm like, there's so few of these figures in the line. We gotta get these guys in there. And we really should address the elephant in the room. He's gotta come with his lightsaber, man. The guy has to come with his lightsaber, because that was such a killer twist and it made me lose my mind. You kind of felt like the game was over, like you had played through all of the stuff with Dagon and all of the stuff with Ravis, and you're like, oh wow, the game's winding down, and then boom, out of nowhere, oh, here's the new bad guy. Alright. He gave me a lot of feelings, and I would like to get that displayed on my shelf. So if you really want to be, really want to push the boat out on this, I would go for a twin pack with Bode and his daughter. That would go really, really nicely with me, I think. Or maybe a twin pack of Bode with Cal in his Imperial officer disguise. Either way, I would buy a twin pack, but I would buy him on his own too. Bode Akuna comes in at number 4.
Not the only one who survived.
At number 3 is Dagon Gera. Now, this guy was seriously cool, and I feel like this is the perfect time to bring him into the Black Series. With the Acolyte coming out and all those cool new High Republic-inspired looks, it would be a great opportunity to bring back this Star Wars game bad guy. At a time when we're getting all of these good guy High Republic characters, let's have one of them who went absolutely wrong. He had such an intriguing character design. I was absolutely fascinated from the very first trailer. And of course, an interesting mechanic with Dagon is the fact that he is missing his arm, and yet he's able to wield his lightsaber as if he'd still got it. Now, there's lots of different ways that we can incorporate that into the Black Series. I've seen custom Lego minifigures where they just use a different color for that arm. We could use see-through plastic for the arm. We could use the stuff they're using for the Holocom series. I don't know, man. I just find this character so fascinating. I love his robes. I feel like that's got to be a mix of soft goods and soft plastic for the robes to really give them some shape and form. And even though he only had them for a second, I would appreciate it if they included both his yellow lightsaber blade and his red. Because even though it was only yellow for a second and then it just immediately turned red, I would go for that. And I may be misremembering, but I seem to remember he has 2 lightsabers that go together to form one double-bladed lightsaber. So that, I think, could really, really work for the Black Series. We've seen similar stuff like that before with Darth Maul's lightsaber, which always, you have his double-bladed, but it splits into 2 parts. Well, we could reuse that for this. I don't know, I think for me it would really depend on how they pull off that second arm. The one that he doesn't have. The ghost arm. But even if they don't include a translucent ghost arm in the box, you could definitely make use of some of those action figure stands where you could just have the lightsaber floating and attacking. It would just look so cool. Or maybe a blast effect that's got 2 clips on it, so you can clip one onto Cal's lightsaber and clip the other one onto Dagon's lightsaber, so it looks like it's just just floating and attacking Cal. I think that would be cool. I would go out and buy it because this guy was a seriously great villain and he was really, really well used in the game. I would just love to get him on my shelf. So Dagan Gera is an easy pick for number 3.
Yes. I am back.
At number 2 is Ravis, the Jedi badass that hounds you throughout the entire game. I absolutely loved this character. I don't talk about the 2003 Clone Wars very much on the channel because it's not Star Wars content that I rate very highly, but something that you can definitely argue it really brought to the franchise is the Jedi species through Dirge. Well, Dirge has made his way into canon and now we've got Ravis. And for a long time I thought, nah, Ravis is too big. He's too big, he's too bulky, we're never going to get a Black Series figure of this guy. Well then, they proved me wrong when they did Malgus last year, and I feel like Malgus is something they're going to live to regret because they did such a good job with him, and he's so big and bulky that I feel like I need to see more of these massive characters now, and Ravis is one that I am absolutely raving for. Obviously, I would love to get like a plethora of his weapons shoved in the box, because I feel like every time you attacked this guy, he hit you back with a new weapon, and I would love to see that represented, but that would really relegate this to a deluxe set, which I feel like it has to be anyway, right? Just because of the size and bulk, this has to be a deluxe figure. Well then I want lots and lots and lots of accessories. I want to get some really, really cool weathering effects on his armor, you know, maybe even some battle damage, like maybe we could even have some tentacle action going on, because it, you know, that is a key characteristic of the Jedi species. When you injure them, they pull themselves back together again, and we could really get that on the shelf. But really, this would be an absolutely massive figure, but I feel like it would absolutely pay off. He was such a great part of the game, he was such an entertaining boss battle. I feel like Ravis would be an incredible pick for a Black Series figure. That's why he's my number 2.
The galaxy has changed. There are many wars, but little honor to be won from them.
But my number 1 pick for characters from Jedi Survivor that I need to see come to the Black Series, you really should have seen it coming, it's Merrin. I am once again appearing before you and asking for a Black Series Merrin because I need this character on my shelf. She was the number 1 pick for the Jedi Fallen Order wishlist. She was the number 2 pick for my ultimate wishlist. Merrin is just a massive missing gap in my Star Wars collection, and I need to get her on my shelf. And as much as I love the Jedi Fallen Order look for her, Jedi Survivor really takes her to the next level. Like, her character model got a serious upgrade for this game, and I need to get it on my shelf. I really loved the kind of spooky Hell's Angel look she's got going on in the new game. And I absolutely adore that spooky baton that she has where she spins it. It just kind of grows into a spear and just wipes out stormtroopers. This is absolutely peak Merrin, and I would love to get a Black Series figure of it. Now, I talked earlier about how the female Black Series mold has come such a long, long way. And I feel like if we took what we've learned from Jaina Solo and Dr. Aphra, Mara Jade, and applied that to a new Merrin figure, it would just be incredible. You get some great articulation out of it. It would be brilliant to just get more Night Sister action on the shelf. We've got Night Brothers. Love to get some Night Sisters out there. I don't know, man. I don't know how many different ways I can just sit here and say, give me a Black Series Merrin. She was the number 1 pick last time, and even though I said I wanted to highlight some new characters on this list, she's the number 1 pick again. Merrin is the number 1 character from Jedi Survivor that I need to see come to the Black Series.
I would not be so quick to judge, Cal Kestis. Much has changed since we last saw each other.
So there you have it. Those were 5 characters from Jedi Survivor that I need to see come to the Black Series. So let me pass this subject off to you. What are some characters from the game that you'd like to see come to the line? Do you want the little frog guy? I know you want the little frog guy, he'd be cool. I feel like before we see more characters from Jedi Survivor, we're going to see more army builders coming out, like more Purge Troopers, more Stormtrooper variants, and that's all fine and dandy. I'm quite happy to go out and get those. But this is one of those Star Wars crews that is just massively underrepresented in the Black Series right now. We need to get all of these characters together, and I'm not sure what it's going to take to get them, because, you know, the game came out a while ago now. We've kind of moved moved on. They've even started talking about the next game, which is supposed to be the last one. So maybe when that rolls around, we can start seeing more Jedi figures in the line. I don't know, man. Leave me some comments down below and I'll get back to each and every one of you. I always enjoy hearing from you on these subjects, especially when we're talking about, like, figures that we want to get into the line. That's always my favourite part. Next week, we're going to be talking about the fine additions to the collection from the month of March, so I'll be really looking forward to share some of those with you. And we are heading out to Canada this weekend to have another crack at finding those Bad Batch figures, because they've got to be out there somewhere. I am not giving up. In the meantime, however, I've been Grand Moff Tony. Those were my top 5 Black Series Wishlist picks for Jedi Survivor. You may subscribe when ready. Oh god, okay, we're done. We got through it. Oh my god, I can't talk. Cage, what's her name? That's the last time you get to say easy pick. That, hang on. It's got really out of breath, alright.